There are no do-overs when it comes to retirement planning and finances. If your portfolio value goes down, you can't say oopsie and then call someone and hope that they restore it back to where it was. The reason I'm starting with this is this video we're going to talk about what I consider to be one of the greatest risks in the retirement risk zone, or that period of time as you near retirement and are in the early years of retirement. This risk is called sequence of returns risk. Now, I've done another longer video that explains sequence of returns risk, shows the financial impact it can have on your portfolio, and you can go watch that video over here. But this video is titled 5 Strategies to Protect Your Retirement Portfolio. And what it really is 5 ways to protect yourself against sequence of returns risk. The issue at hand is that if you retire, you don't get a second chance at retirement. What ends up happening is if you retire and you end up finding out that you don't have enough retirement assets to support your spending in retirement, you either go back to work if you can at the time that you find out, if it's not too late, or you become dependent on the state, the government, or your family. None of those are great options. And so that's why we're making this video, because my case to you is that if you're proactive during the retirement risk zone, you can use any or all of these 5 strategies to protect your retirement portfolio against sequence of returns risk, which means protecting your income in retirement, because that's effectively what those assets become. So stay tuned. Welcome. My name is Eric Amzalag. I'm the owner and head financial planner at Peak Financial Planning. We are fee-only fiduciary financial planners, and we help people just like you navigate the retirement risk zone. This video is all about that. We'll be speaking in this video about the 5 ways that you can protect your retirement portfolio from sequence of returns risk. Now, at the outset here, I'd like to explain 2 quick things. The first is that, as with all retirement planning endeavors, there are trade-offs involved. When you start to think about how you can protect against something else, you have to pay, or there is a cost associated with that trade-off. Now, that cost isn't always money. Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's emotional stability, and sometimes it's neuroticism and anxiety. But that's the first case I'd like to make here. And the second is that as I make this list, and I show this list on the screen here, these are not done in any preferential order, or these are not recommendations for any particular situation. The idea here is to show 5 tools that are at your disposal to help protect against sequence of returns risk, which ensures your spending stability in retirement. And then what you should be doing with this list afterwards is thinking about the trade-offs that are involved for each of these, because some will be more distasteful than others, and probably many of them won't feel all that great initially. But the case I'd make here is that watching your portfolio go down dramatically or paying for mistakes with your own money will feel worse in the long run. So it's better to get proactive and address these things head on. So what are the 5 primary ways to mitigate sequence of returns risk? Well, the first and the most in your control, but probably the least desirable, is to just retire later. Obviously, if you delay your retirement timeline, you give yourself more working years, and therefore more saving years, and more years for your portfolio to grow before you start eating or nibbling away at it through distributions. And that is by far the most impactful way to mitigate sequence of returns risk. So what that might look like is maybe you see a really bad market performing year or two, maybe 2022 and 2023 look like that for you. And you say to yourself, well, I'll push my retirement out 3 more years, even though I thought I'd retire at the end of 2023, so that I have more years to save and I give my portfolio time to recover before I nibble away at it and reduce the total portfolio value. The second strategy would be to spend less in retirement, probably just as distasteful as delaying your retirement. The reason for this is obviously the lower you keep your distributions, the longer your portfolio lasts. It also allows your portfolio to continue to grow if you take less money from it and find other ways to either fund your retirement, or you do some kind of hybrid where you partially delay or phase out into retirement and work less. But the idea here is you just get used to spending less in retirement. Some of you, that may be possible. For some of you that watch this, that may not be possible at all. And for some of you, it may just be completely unpalatable. Part of the case of these first 2 items is it really helps to start your retirement planning earlier. And if you watch my other prior video talking about the retirement risk zone, what the retirement risk zone is in this overlooked phase of retirement, you'll get a much better sense of why it's so important to start your planning early so you can address and not have to default to these first 2, but most impactful strategies to mitigate sequence of returns risk. Now, the third strategy you can use is to increase your guaranteed sources of income. Your guaranteed sources of income are things like Social Security, pensions, and annuities. Now, for most of us, we're not going to have pensions. For some of us, we'll have annuities, but all of us will have Social Security. There's obviously 2 ways to increase your Social Security. One is you can increase your income, and the second is you can work longer, or you can do some blend of both. Now, some of you who are watching this will already be capped out and have optimized Social Security to the best of your ability as far as how much you pay in. For those of you that are in that scenario, The third way to optimize Social Security is to do the math model and find out which year you claim at what age. Is it 62, 65, 67, or 70 is the optimal age to claim Social Security. Now, I have other videos that talk about how to think about that, but that is very important because your guaranteed sources of income give you an income stability floor. They provide you the base of how much income you'll get in retirement. And then everything that you need to spend in excess of that comes from your portfolio. So obviously, the more you have from guaranteed sources of income, the less you rely on portfolio assets, which means the longer your portfolio assets will last. The fourth strategy is to reduce portfolio volatility. Now, you can go with the standard financial planning models of saying, hey, when I was young, I had a 90% risk allocation and a 10% conservative or protective allocation. And as I get older, I'll go from 90-10 to 80-20 to eventually 50-50, 60-40, something like that. Now, I'm not a huge proponent of straight line or very bland asset allocation models that use those types of proportions. I think they're inaccurate and they do us a disservice. I have another video you can watch that talks about how asset allocations are a scam and how a much better method to use is to use something like interest rate sensitivity with regards to your investments as the better metric to reduce risk and reduce portfolio volatility. But you'll have to watch that other video. But just understand that that is a key standard financial planning method of mitigating against sequence of return risk. The only case I'm making here in this video is that I think financial advisors and planners have generally done it not well over time. That's led to a general sense of dissatisfaction, and there are better ways to manage portfolio volatility rather than just a standard asset allocation. The fifth and final method that you can use, and I think we are in the midst of what I would consider a generational opportunity to use this strategy if you have the funds to do so. And that would be to use a bucket strategy or a bucketing strategy. The basic idea of a bucketing strategy is to keep some amount of cash on hand so you can use that for either all or a portion of your investments during years where market returns are bad, because that cash will allow you to not nibble away at the investments while they have a decline in value and will buy you time for those investment values to correct or go up. Now, you can use a hybrid of step 4 and step 5 here, and you can both reduce portfolio volatility and use a bucketing strategy. And that is, I think, the optimal way to handle and mitigate sequence of returns risk. Admittedly, that is a more complicated strategy, but certainly worth exploring. Now, I have a whole article and video guide just on the bucketing strategy if you'd like to see it. I have my own opinions of it. It's not a standard financial planning bucketing strategy where you just set kind of 5-year bucket, 10-year bucket, and 15-year bucket. This is a more dynamic strategy where you use some kind of more active or tactical asset allocation in conjunction with bucketing cash amounts. Now, I said just a few minutes ago that this is a generational opportunity for this strategy, and it really is, because as of making this video, it's the end of November 2023, and interest rates are at the highest they're likely to be, or near the highest they're likely to be during at least my lifetime. What that means for you is you can create cash buckets that actually lock in real returning yields, meaning you'll get rates of return off of 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, and 2 year treasuries, which are risk-free investments that produce you 4.5%, 5% interest rates. And you can lock those in for the period of your cash bucket strategy, which is an unprecedented opportunity that hasn't been available since the early 2000s. So if you're in the camp where you are concerned about sequence of returns risk, it's a highly lucrative strategy to explore. I won't get into more detail here, but you can watch each of the corresponding videos I've done on each of the elements of your options on this 5-option list. But if you have comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below this video. You can also email us. You can find all of our information and contact information on our website at www.thepeakfp.com. You can also on our website find all sorts of other helpful guides like a free sample financial plan, free rollover guides, and much more at www.thepeakfp.com. And last but not least, if you'd like to schedule time with us, we are fee-only fiduciary financial planners who also do wealth management. We lead with financial planning first, and we specifically help people navigate the retirement risk zone, which we talked about a bit in the beginning of this video. You can book a free consultation with us on our website at www.thepeakfp.com. Thank you, as always, for your time and attention, and see you in the next video.